evening, everyone. Today, this is notice that the Board of the Library Trustees regular meeting will come to order. Today is Tuesday, September 16th, 2025, and it is now 6:30. Secretary, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Trustee Biederman?
Here.
Trustee Cox is not present. Trustee DiLorenzo present. Trustee Fishman?
Present.
Trustee Mulman? Here. Trustee Pasco?
Here.
And Trustee Senate? Here.
Very good, thank you. It's now on our agenda for public comment, and meeting attendees who have signed the visitor public comment registration form and who wish to address the Wilmette Public Library District Board of Trustees may do so here. Do we have a, yes, please. Take
Evening,
the
folks.
microphone.
How are you? My apologies for missing last month's meeting, but I'm here once again to say we're here to support the staff in whatever decisions they make on the collection and its contents. Thanks.
Would you please state your name,
My
please?
apologies.
Thank you.
I'm Robert Lepkowski, a 29-year resident of Wilmette.
Thank you for your
Thanks.
comments. We have no presentations, and moving on. Oh, minutes would be nice, yes. Review, thank you. I've done that before. Review of draft minutes of the regular board meeting from August 19th, 2025. Thank you, Trustee Senate. And we will review those and any comments or corrections. All right. Seeing none, may we have a motion to review the draft of the August 19th, 2025 regular board meeting minutes?
I move approval of the August 19, 2025 regular board meeting minutes as presented.
Thank you. Trustee Senate,
A second?
and second. Trustee DiLorenzo. May we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Trustee Biederman?
Yes.
Trustee Cox is not present. Trustee DiLorenzo here. Trustee Mulman? Yes. Trustee Pasco?
Yes.
Trustee Senate?
Yes.
And Trustee Fishman?
Yes. Motion passed. Approval of the regular August 19th, 2025 regular board meeting minutes. Now we went on to public comment, thank you, and no presentations. And now, Treasurer Biederman, may we have your treasurer's report, please?
Sure. Information compiled by Sandra. In August, the library received just over $2,000 of replacement taxes and $25,700 in property taxes, plus another $41,000 in per capita grant. But that's small compared to what we're not seeing, which is the Cook County deposit of our portion of the taxes, which probably everybody here who is a taxpayer knows has not come to our home. So while maybe it's good for us having to go a few more weeks, months, or who knows, to when we get to pay it, but that's not great for the library. So, I sat in on an audit, or I sat in on a levy presentation with PMA. Sandra was also on there too. One of the questions I asked was, when do they anticipate that Cook County will be making, will be collecting and dispersing? And the answer was they don't know. So maybe somebody else knows, but I think we're going to just have to sit and wait. So that's a good reason why we have, general fund has extra funds so that we can float what we need to do. This is, you would hope that a county like Cook County with such high tax base could get their act together, but things happen there that we don't have any control over. Investment wise, our CDs earned a little over, just shy of $50,000 in a combination of interests. The important thing to know is that tomorrow, I believe the Fed is going to probably, it's anticipated that they'll reduce interest rates by 25 basis points. So any reinvestments of our CDs will be a slightly lower yield, although not drastically low. But it's anticipated that there's going to be 3 rate cuts in the next year, so we'll kind of wait and see. But, as we have them, we want to, reinvest them before right away. But I think that's the normal procedures that we do. Expenses are trending just about at the right percentage of the month, 16% versus 17% of the, which is that percentage of 2 months of the year. So we're right on track with that. There were a few checks that were detailed out on the detail, and those all seem to be normal expenses that we typically do, but maybe in this particular month they were slightly larger than the way they would normally be. Next month we have Andrew from PMA coming in to talk to us about the audit, or to discuss some other, the levy, to talk to us about the levy and structurally some changes or adjustments we can do. So that'll be very interesting to hear what he has to say, because he's got a lot of experience with that. But besides that, there's really nothing else that I have. Everything is on here. If anybody has any questions,
Yeah, I
or,
do.
yes,
How long can we last before
that's a good question.
we have to, turn off the lights?
Well, we have a policy that states that we will keep 6 months to 1 year of operating revenue in our general fund reserve, and we have just over that 6 months amount right now. So 2 months into the fiscal year, we're okay. We're anticipating that tax bills will be due in November, but folks are going to need to get notice about that here pretty soon, so we don't think it's going to extend out to 6 months. But yeah, our bills continue to come through. We got to make payroll, so we're glad that we do have a fund balance that we can lean into.
Okay.
How quickly is the money dispersed as soon as it is collected?
It turns around pretty quickly. As soon as the county has it, they give it to us. So I would say within a week or so, it's fairly efficient.
So they do it in one chunk?
It comes incrementally, and
Okay.
I don't know how that
Okay.
is distributed, but it does come in incrementally.
But once again, it's reassuring that our policy protects us from issues like this.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is part of what our long-range financial analyst meeting with us on October 15th will cover. That's really where a lot of this discussion originated, and why we have our finance policy the way that we do, is to satisfy the needs of the organization, both in the near term as well as the long range. So yes, part of the conversation is going to be talking specifically about anticipated expenditures in the general fund, as well as planned expenditures, long range in the special reserve fund, as well as what type of funding we're going to require from the levy in years ahead to support those expenses in those 2 respective funds. So he will help us out. And in the meantime, I will give you an update since we're on finance. I'll just mention that we are working with our new auditor at Selden Fox, and we anticipate that at our next meeting in October, we'll be receiving the presentation of the financial audit for fiscal year 24-25. And Andrew is anticipating that information as well, so that he can give us the most accurate reporting for his report that is immediately prior to that on October 15th. So I'll keep you posted about how we proceed with that. Is there anything else about the treasurer's report?
All right. If no other questions, then is there a motion to approve the bills and salaries check detail for August 2025 as presented?
I move approval of the bills and salaries check detail for August 2025 as presented.
Thank you. Trustee DiLorenzo has the motion on the floor, and is there a second?
A second.
Trustee Molman has seconded. May we please have a roll call?
Yes, Trustee Biederman?
Yes.
Trustee Cox, not present. Trustee DiLorenzo, yes. Trustee Mulman?
Yes.
Trustee Pasco?
Yes.
Trustee Senate?
Yes.
Trustee Fishman?
Yes. Motion passed to approve the bills and salaries check detail for August 2025 as presented. Next on our agenda is this action items, of which we have none. So we'll move on, and we'll go to the director's report. Director Austin, please.
Okay, thank you. Recognizing that we don't have a lot of action before us this evening, I will seize this opportunity to talk with you at length. Just kidding.
Okay.
But I will talk a little bit. I have a bit of news to share. So first we'll start with some statistics. In August, we had about 22,000 visitors, so a busy month for us, averaging over 700 unique users each day. We welcomed 144 new cardholders in August. And early in September, at the block party on September 6th, we welcomed 15 new cardholders that day who were attending our table as part of our community engagement at that event. We were represented by staff from our circulation, adult services, and youth services departments. And we had to twice restock our promotional swag because we had so much participation at our table, and everyone wants to rep Wilmette Library in the community. So really nice, lots of library love at that event. So we were really happy to do that presentation and to welcome those 15 new cardholders. In terms of physical circulation, we had a steady month of 52,000 items circulating in August, and we had nearly 19,000 checkouts via Overdrive. So again, we're continuing to see some pretty strong circulation digitally. In fact, Overdrive saw its highest circulation in a month in both our audiobook and magazine collections in August. So interesting to see these figures grow. And I will also add that Hoopla saw its highest usage ever with 1,800 checkouts last month. And you may remember that I mentioned that also last month at the meeting, that July had its highest Hoopla circulation. So we're starting off this fiscal year real strong with digital circulation, even if the physical isn't quite what it was before. So we're starting to see that tipping point reflected. Speaking of circulation, I should mention that at the last meeting, we were telling you that our Computer Services Cooperative, CCS, our consortium, welcomed the addition of the Vernon Area Public Library in Lincolnshire as our 32nd member of CCS on September 3rd. With the addition of Vernon, we have over 150,000 new titles and 180,000 physical items and approximately 23,000 new patrons that are joining our consortium. So to facilitate that, we had to have a bit of downtime. The library catalog and patron database were both offline Thursday, August 28th through Tuesday, September 2nd, though patrons were still able to check out materials at the library and retrieve their holds. And our intrepid team did a fantastic job in provisioning service despite not having access to the most current and accurate information in the catalog during that downtime. Even more impressive was how they rebounded after all those materials were returned. That holiday weekend over Labor Day is one of the highest return weekends that we have. A lot of folks who go out of town for the holidays or for the summer make it a habit to return all of their items over Labor Day weekend. And we had several large bins that were filled with all of the returns. And when the system came back online, we were happy to engage our automated material handling system to process those holds, as well as the ones that our staff has to process manually, those being like the discs and such. About a quarter of them were manually handled. And I have to say, as impressive as all of this is, that team continues to impress me every year. They had all of those items checked in, and pretty much every cart was shelved within 24 to 36 hours after we came back online. And if you saw all of those bins, it would impress the heck out of you at how awesome this team is. So I just want to give a shout out to our shelving and circulation teams for how rapidly they were able to respond and provide consistent service and promote access to the collections despite that downtime. I do want to pause for a moment and talk a little bit more about CCS. So we had a board meeting with CCS last week, and every library director that supports their 32 libraries in the consortium is a board member, just like you are board members. And the director of CCS kind of sits in this same seat that I am and makes recommendations and supports data and talks about engagement with the services that are provided. And we all have high expectations of our partnership with CCS. And it was an opportunity for us to both take action and to reflect on the services that we get. So part of that meeting, there were a couple action items, and I want to discuss them with you. So we just talked about how we added Vernon Area Library to the system. Two other communities were interested in joining CCS, and they have also have taken action at their respective library boards in their communities to join CCS. So at the November governing board meeting, we are going to be entertaining and taking action as the consortium on whether to accept their application, just as we did with Vernon Area. And those are the Rolling Meadows Library and the Wakanda Library. There is a map of suburban Chicagoland that shows where all of the members are in our consortium, and it's rapidly filling in as the northern suburbs are all joining this consortium, and the catalog is getting larger and stronger as a result. So we're really excited at the prospect of seeing Rolling Meadows and Wakanda join us. And everything that we just went through over Labor Day weekend this last year, we're going to get to probably do again next year. And you may recall that the year prior, we welcomed Mount Prospect, and before that, it was Palatine, and before that, it was Indian Trails and Wheeling. So we have been adding a lot of really outstanding libraries to our consortium. So excited to share that news. One of the other actions that took place at that meeting was a vote on trying to promote access to our library catalog. There is a product that is available to libraries called a discovery layer. And a discovery layer essentially is a tool that simplifies the presentation of information in the catalog and makes it more accessible to our users and to our staff. Library catalogs are really helpful in trying to promote access to collections, way more helpful than the card catalog was years ago. And yet it is still kind of confusing to try to keep track of things. When a title might be available in multiple formats, it may be hard to know whether you are placing a hold on or searching for the large print item, the regular print version, an e-audio book, an audio book, whatever the case may be. It's confusing. And so the idea of the discovery layer is to try to promote better access, elevate the profile of certain titles. We can curate portions of the collection there, make the catalog look more like our library website, personalize it, make it beautiful, try to improve it. And so as part of the strategic plan for CCS, we conducted a study, and there are a few vendors out there that have various products about this. And through a very dedicated team that ran project testing at a couple area libraries, we came to the conclusion that there were two solutions that we were going to make a decision on. And so the board was all ready to make that decision this summer, and ultimately was compelled not to make that decision immediately at the last minute, despite the fact that CCS staff had made a recommendation about which product we would go forward with based upon feedback from the consortium, data that had been collected from the users, and so on. Two of our members in our consortium have already adopted one of the products, and they were trying to compel the rest of the membership to proceed with their solution because they had already independently conducted their research on that, while CCS staff was recommending an alternate solution. So it was a little bit challenging for them to make that decision. So we took a pause, we did a little bit more study, and we allowed those vendors to make separate presentations. And staff of the various libraries, including our own, participated in presentations and further evaluation of which tool we thought would be the best one to proceed with. CCS maintained their position that they wanted to recommend the solution that was developed by the vendor that manufactures our integrated library system, Innovative Interfaces. That product is called Vega. The other vendor, BiblioCommons, also a library vendor that supports a lot of other services, including websites and other tools that we use, has a discovery layer product as well. And that product is in use currently by both Evanston and Glenview libraries. So some of our patrons here at Wilmette have already had an opportunity to test that interface. The difference really between the two products, all else remaining equal, they both will promote wonderful access to our collections and services. One of them is just a little bit more expensive, and that happens to be the BiblioCommons product. So we had a very spirited conversation, and as a board, we did something unlike anything I'd witnessed before, and I think it's really interesting because I have empathy for the role that you all are in as elected officials and trustees, because I was placed in that position as well. And that is that we ended up suspending Robert's rules for that meeting And every single member of the board had an opportunity for 3 minutes to make a case for why they were going to recommend their vote, what they were going to go with, whether it was the CCS recommended Vega or the Bibliocommons product. At the end of the day, the board ultimately voted to go with the Bibliocommons product. As I mentioned a moment ago, it's a little bit more expensive than Vega. And I know I'm being rather long-winded about this, but I think it's interesting. And I wanted to just use this as an illustration. Part of what we have to make decisions about as an agency, we have to keep the greater interests of our community at mind. And so as a voting member of this consortium, part of the decision that we were making is that we were going to affect the dues, the fees that other members were going to have to pay for the provision of the same service. Not everyone felt that they needed a discovery layer for their library. So some of them were like, well, we're just going to have to go forward with this anyway. But the Bibliocommons product was more expensive. And so 19 users voted for that and 13 voted for Vega. And so the average, fee that's going to go up is like $1,500 per library. But for some less well-resourced libraries in our consortium, because not everyone is right along the North Shore like us. Per year. So it's a small sum. I mean, I would not argue that it's immaterial, because a couple of the members made a pretty impassioned case that, hey, look, I'm going to probably have to cut some programs and services to account for this resource, which I would argue is likely kind of like debating about whether you're going to get an iPhone or an Android. Is kind of what it came down to me, for a lot of ways. But I thought it was really interesting, and I had to wear a little bit of a different hat. So not only do I have to look at my professional ethics and what I think my role is in representing our community in Wilmette, but I'm also the treasurer of the CCS consortium. So I have to be looking out more broadly for the financial position of the agency. Do we have the money for this in our development fund, which is effectively their special reserve fund? Can we afford to sustain this? Is this really the right decision? So I ultimately made the decision when I cast my vote to vote for Vega, because a couple of the members stated that they really felt that they were going to compromise their services to try to accommodate this. But at the end of the day, we're going to have a wonderful discovery layer that's going to be there, and all of the library consortium members are going to be able to take advantage of this product and use it. But I mention all of this because I think it really reflects, and it gave me an opportunity to think about the impact that elected officials and boards have to make when they're thinking about the decisions that are recommended by staff. And I kind of had to empathize in this instance with the director of CCS, who went through the paces, put together a lot of reports to recommend a specific product, and their elected officials effectively said, we're going to go with something different, But at the end of the day, we're going to have a great product. So
You said that Evanston was using it.
they are.
And they're part of the consortium.
Mhm.
So does every library have to do it?
As a member of this consortium, this is a decision that was made as part of our strategic plan to promote access, and that is correct.
How was Evanston able to do it when everybody else wasn't?
They decided to pay the fee themselves
okay.
independently. They believed in it enough, like Glenview, that they wanted to do this first.
Okay.
And that was great. And we were really happy to have both Glenview and Evanston make that decision to independently take their research, to effectively serve as a test case. It was actually, and they made really impassioned presentations about why they thought the product was a really great resource, and how all of us as members of the consortium are going to benefit when we have that. So that was helpful. But anyway, I wanted to share that story with you because I thought it was kind of interesting.
When does it go online?
It's in development. The ink is probably not even dry on that contract. It's probably still a bit in negotiation, actually. So I anticipate sometime this winter we'll start to see the rollout of this product.
Cool.
I will keep you posted.
Can you give an example of the discovery layer? So is it like if I'm researching frogs, I would just type in frogs and maybe it will pop up a bunch of resources for me, or how does that discovery layer work?
Yeah, so it does employ a little bit of artificial intelligence because it's a computer, and it will learn how we use the resource, and it will over time understand a little bit more about how user behavior will drive better results. What are people actually clicking on when they search for frogs? What are they specifically looking for? So Yeah, but it more than anything is going to try to promote access to simplify the presentation of those results, as I said, kind of like multiple formats getting rolled up, making scrolling a little bit easier. It's supposed to be more intuitive. And the BiblioCommons product is very elegant looking. I liken it to the presentation of like you'd get on an iPhone. It's just really attractive.
So does it get away from author, title, subject?
It uses natural language.
Okay.
Yep. So eventually it will be somewhat intuitive, so we think. And staff have all tested it. And again, like I said, we all felt that the products, both of them were really good. It's just that one of them was 53% more expensive than the other, but we weren't really sure that it was 53% better. But it's ours.
Does the algorithm, for the frogs example, you said that it learns. So is it about what this particular group of users are usually looking for?
I can't
Okay.
say that, but that's a great question for the vendors to
Okay.
address that. But, they were both a little bit cagey with us about how they're going to leverage AI.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of professional ethics that are getting into, how these models learn how to respond. At the end of the day, the purpose of this particular product is to promote access to the collections for the end user. The end user is also staff, but staff we're trained, we're professionals. We go through the paces in trying to promote access to resources, whereas we know the average patron is going to try to treat the catalog like Google. And if they don't get the result in the first 5 hits, then they're going to give up and say they must not have it, but that isn't always the case. So that's why we need to go through extra steps to make sure that we describe material. That's why technical services and cataloging are so critical. Metadata is really important in promoting access. So, but these are all
Thank
part
you.
of our professional values. Yeah. All right, so that was a lot there, but thank you for humoring me. Another topic that I think is really important that I want to share with you is an update on something I shared at last month's meeting, which is an update about our collection revitalization project. So as you know, we have been working over the course of the last 18, 19 months to promote a lot of our nonfiction collection in particular, to try to better promote access to those collections here on the lower level and amplify the promotion of our collections, specifically our new material on the first floor. And as I mentioned, we made significant progress last month in unifying the nonfiction collection on the south side of the building, which was one of the goals of our space needs assessment. And by emptying what was formerly the 900s room, that's over on the north end of the building, we were able to commence our small renovation project that we had in that space. So that room is currently closed, and it underwent an asbestos abatement that lasted just 5 days. We got it done in half the time, so that room has been demobilized of the team that was in there to abate the asbestos. The dumpster is gone. That crew is done. The distracting noise that was happening between 3 and 11 p.m. in the evening has all ceased in that space, and we are happy to say that we have an asbestos-free zone over in that space, which is fantastic, which enables us to activate the next steps in that process, which are to paint that room for the first time in a few decades and refresh that space and install some new carpeting. So the painting is going to begin next week, and as planned. And the carpeting, I mentioned, had some supply chain issues, so that is a little bit delayed in its delivery, and we cannot reopen that space until the carpeting is provisioned and installed. Right now, we think the carpeting is going to be arriving in the second week of October, and our installer is going to be here right on the heels after it hits their warehouse to do that installation. So we anticipate that we'll be able to reopen that space with its new painting and carpeting sometime in mid-October, and we'll make sure that you're all aware of that, and perhaps hopefully by the time we meet at our next meeting. During that time, because the Friends bookstore is adjacent to that space, the Friends room is still closed, and that gives us an opportunity to help the Friends with a little bit of room improvement as well. So we're going to strip and wax the floor in that space and do a little bit of cleaning in that area as well. So we've got some other small projects that we're working on. So BDU will reopen once that area is complete. In the meantime, we are again reminding the public to please hold on to their holds, or their donations rather. The Friends have asked that all donations to the library for physical materials be paused between September 1 and October 30 to try to accommodate this project. We have a page on the website that is dedicated to this specific project and some updates, and it also includes some lists of places that if you just cleaned out the basement and you want to be done with all of that stuff, we do have some recommendations of other donors, other sites where you can make your donation. And then the Friends will likely be holding a pop-up shop, perhaps here in the auditorium later this calendar year, perhaps in December. So stay tuned for more info about that. That is the update on the project.
Did we receive a certification on the asbestos abatement that we have passed?
Yes, yep. That is one of the contingencies of the completion of the project. Yep. So before we reopen the room to the public, we will have all of that information. Yep. Any other questions about the project?
When's the porta potty gonna leave?
Yeah, I know. That still remains. Hopefully this week.
Okay.
All right, so a couple other details I'll share from my report. Our summer reading clubs, the final numbers are right at the top of my report. We've got a combined report from Adult and Youth Services. As you'll see in the numbers there, we've got strong trending, particularly in the teen and adult participation, seeing a real strong rebound there. And our post-pandemic rebound data for youth is also very strong as well. What's not captured specifically by those numbers is the anecdotal feedback and associated outcomes that really reflect the engagement that our community is having with this programming. We're getting tremendous feedback from the public with their engagement. So we're going to continue to reflect on the data that we're getting from our finishers, from the outreach that we're doing with our partners, particularly with the schools, to build upon the successes that we've got here and to continue to add those to our program as we go forward for next year. And I will add that we again, speaking of the Friends, we're so grateful for their continued support as they are instrumental in promoting the specific program, and they have supported us for years with our reading programs. They're really responsible for all of the support for the programming that we do, all of the celebrations, as well as the incentive prizes, the books that we give away. So we thank the Friends of the Wilmette Public Library for their continued support. And I will add that they also support our winter reading club, which we're already getting ready to do our planning for. And that is going to kick off on December 15th, which will be here before you know it. So stay tuned for more news about that in our next newsletter. All right, so the other things I briefly wanted to share with you, just a couple more points. You all probably got an email from us earlier this month about cybersecurity training. A few of you have already completed your training, thank you. All staff participate in this. It's a contingency of our cybersecurity insurance. And we offer this as a training also for the public, but we've got a specific program that we provide for staff and trustees, anyone with a domain account, that we teach skills specifically to recognize potential points of fraud or phishing. So we definitely encourage you all to take advantage of that training and to reflect on the information that you learn from that, because it can also help you as an individual consumer as well as help protect the library's network. Speaking of computers, our second phase of our new computer project that we began earlier this year is continuing this fall with the planned implementation of our new operating system. Windows is discontinuing support for Windows 10, which is what our current computers are running, and we will be migrating to Windows 11 beginning in November. So we will be taking care of that here very shortly as well.
Are you going to update the operating system on existing hardware or replace it?
The hardware was all replaced previously. This is the software. So the OS is what's getting touched this time. And really, we're going to try to emulate the Windows 10 operating environment for our team and for the public to try to keep it as seamless as possible for folks so that it isn't too confusing. And then the last thing, I guess, kind of also software related is the development and implementation of our new payroll system continues. And we are planning to delay the launch of it just a little bit so that we can make sure that all the details of the migration are right up to our satisfaction and that everything is accurate. There's also a lot of training that is required both for us as administrators and for staff, and we don't want to rush this. We want everyone to feel completely confident before we make that transition. So the timing of this implementation is going to take just a little bit longer than we anticipated, but we believe if it's worth doing right, and we want to get it right the first time. So stay tuned. We'll let you know when we cut over to the new system.
What's the name of the new system?
Paylocity. And then finally, the last thing I wanted to mention is the library closes just 11 days of the year for holidays, and we close 1 day each spring for staff development, and we are planning, as we've discussed in the past, to have a half-day closure for public safety procedures and to run a variety of drills that we can't run in an open public building. So we're planning to proceed with the implementation of our first half-day staff day this fall on Friday, October 17th. The plan is to close the library at noon that day and to continue through the afternoon with staff training for our team. We'll go through a series of drills and development and training, and then we'll close the day with department meetings as we typically would. It's very rare for us to be able to get all of our team together. We have 50 FTE, which means we have a large number of part-time staff on our teams whose schedules don't always comport with our regular meeting schedules. So this affords us an opportunity to get everyone in the building together at the same time and benefit from this training simultaneously. So we'll resume our regular hours the following day on Saturday, October 18th. And we chose the specific day because Friday night is typically the quietest night of the week at the library and will be impactful to the least number of people. While having a very well-trained and equipped staff with all of these safety procedures benefits everyone. That's the summary of my report. Do you have any questions or comments about the rest of the report?
I was happy to see you have a practicum student.
We do. We're really excited.
So that's someone who is getting credit for.
The LTA program at
yes.
College of DuPage.
That's great. That's great.
Will they float between departments, or, to
Yeah.
get a flavor of?
So just get an immersion and work directly with with management or select staff in each department.
That's great.
And that's the first time that we've done that, so we're really excited for that as a test case.
I just wanted to make a comment that I've participated in the summer reading program, and it was great, and happy to look at the cart when I was done and could choose my book, and thank you to Friends. It's, again, a great program and spreads great reading and a lot of goodwill, and it's terrific.
I would also just, as I mentioned in the last meeting, I think it's great if we add more libraries to our consortium. It's probably the cheapest way to get a variety of materials we might not have on hand. And also, I went to the block party this, what was it, I guess past Saturday, and got a sticker. So it was good to see that, and they did a good job.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. We've got really cute stickers, so check it out.
Nice. I also wanted to commend the Collections Technical Service team, who are working without their manager, who moved to a different library. And the way you described it in your report, that they've really pitched in a real can-do. We just all will do whatever it takes to get the job done. So my kudos to all of them. Thank you.
Thank you. We really appreciate that.
Great. Any other questions for Dr. Austin, or any other comments? All right. Thank you. Great. Well, moving on to our committee reports. Trustee Senate, ILA or Rails? Rails.
Just Rails, yeah.
Okay.
I don't have much to report from Rails this month. Most of the discussion was actually about school libraries, because school libraries are part of Rails. And of the 15-member board, there is one representative for school libraries. So they had there was a discussion, and there was actually a guest speaker. All I'll say is that looking in Director Austin's report for the past few months, I've been very happy to see some of the partnerships that have been forming between the Wilmette Public Library, librarians, and schools. And that's lot of them don't have librarians anymore. So it was really just nice to see that what's happening in our community, at least. Always a discussion about what's happening with IMLS, because that authorization ends September 30th. The good news is Congress seems to be inclined to continue to authorize and fund IMLS, slightly lower amounts, but both House of Representatives and, or the House and the Senate have offered support. The administration doesn't offer support right now, but even in the lawsuits, the most recent one being in the First Circuit last week, did say that the administration needed to stop trying to dismantle IMLS until everything had been figured out. So September 30th is a magical date. I don't think it's really going to be the magical date, but there might be some good news. It seems as though people do appreciate their museums and libraries.
Will you just, please, give us the, you gave us the initials, but just
Oh,
for the
Institute of
public.
Museum and Library Services.
Thank you.
Which in March, the administration started to dismantle it. And the people who work there have gone back to work, and they're continuing. They were able to issue the grants to states for fiscal year 2026, so that did happen. But it is a law, it's an act that has to be reauthorized every 5 years, and it's due to expire at the end of September. And so
Right.
the tension we have now is it looks like Congress may be willing to do that, but there wasn't anything in the budget for funding it, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. And that's all I have for Rails.
Thank you. And Intergovernmental Cooperation Committee, Trustee Senate and Trustee Mulman are going to participate. So is there a
Yes.
date? I believe you do have a new date.
Yes, so there
yeah.
was supposed to be a meeting on September 4th, and it was rescheduled for, I want to say October 30th.
30th, right.
Yeah, the end of October. So there has not been any movement as a group on that.
Okay. You'll keep us posted. Yeah, thank you. And ILA, Director Austin?
I will
anything?
mention that the ILA Annual Conference will be held October 14th through 16th in Rosemont at the Stevens Center. And Trustee Day is October 16th, and Wilmette Library will be represented by President Fishman and Trustee Senate. And multiple staff are also going to be attending the conference this fall. So we'll provide some feedback to you all on the heels of that, probably in our report that we deliver in November. There's one other item I wanted to just add a note to. I want to thank Trustee Senate for acknowledging the vital role of school libraries and the partnerships that the library has with our local schools. It is evidenced in Andrea Johnson's reports each month just how much our youth services team is engaging with our schools all throughout our community in Kenilworth. And I wanted to just mention briefly that District 39 had submitted a proposal for their annual state convention of the school board members and school superintendents and school business officials, and that their panel presentation was accepted. And it is going to be highlighting the many partnerships that they've developed within Wilmette across governmental agencies. And they specifically reached out to us to participate on their panel to reflect the engagement that the library has had with the school district, specifically in the last couple years. They've held a number of events, as you know, here at the library. And we have also been doing a tremendous amount of outreach and visiting those schools. Youth Services Manager Andrea Johnson is going to be participating in that panel presentation and representing us in November at that conference. So I just wanted to give a shout out both to D39 for representing our community really well and building those relationships, and also the library for continuing to support their efforts.
Great. Thank you for mentioning. Good. All right. We have our communications in the purple folder being circulated, and there is a new September-October newsletter that has hit mailboxes in the last week or so, and they're always upstairs or all around. The most powerful card in your wallet. I love that. Sign up for a library card this September and unlock your portal to lifelong learning. So, well done. Very nice. All right, you mentioned the Finance Committee coming up Wednesday, October 15th at 4 o'clock in the lower level auditorium, right where we are. And any other comments or announcements or anything else? All right, may we have a motion to adjourn, please?
I
To
move,
adjourn.
I move that the board adjourn this meeting.
All right, thank you. It is now 7:15, and all we need is a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion carried, and or we move that, not a motion really, but that we are adjourning at 7:15 this evening. Thank you very much.